Hey everyone, great to see all of you again. So when it comes to computers, I've always had those full-size PCs. You know, those big tower computers that take up a ton of space on your desk? What I've always liked about them is that they've had a lot of real estate to add and modify components. But the trade-off is that they're large, they're heavy, and can't easily be moved. On the other end of the spectrum, we have mini PCs like this one here. This is the Geekom Mini PC. The folks at Geekom were kind enough to send me their newest model, the Mini IT8, to test out and share my experiences and opinions. This little guy here runs Windows 11, has an 8th gen i5 processor, comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 512 gigabytes of storage. At the time of this video, the entire package is a very affordable $450 US. So I've spent a few weeks with this PC and I'm ready to share my thoughts with all of you. In this review, I'm going to go over what's in the box, the design, system internals, connectivity, day-to-day usage, and of course, my final thoughts. So what's in the box? So the IT8 comes in a very nice sturdy box that offers some good protection during shipping. Inside the box, you're going to find the Geekom Mini IT8, the carrying case, a power adapter, and a VESA mount. In terms of the design, what I love about the Geekom IT8 is just how small and compact this little computer is. The body of the IT8 is 4.5 inches across, 4.5 inches long, and in terms of thickness, it's shy of 2 inches. This is a very small PC. In fact, it's small enough to be mounted behind your computer monitor or on the back of your TV. Geekom purposefully included a VESA mount for users that had this in mind. Alright, let's take a quick tour of the body. Along the front, you have your power button, a 3.5mm headphone and microphone jack, a USB-A port, and a USB-C port. Along the left, we have a full-size SD card slot, which is great for expandable storage. On the right side, there is a connector here to lock your PC. And on the back, we have an HDMI, a USB-C with video out, mini display port, 2 USB-A ports, an Ethernet port, and your power in. One thing to note is that the Geekom IT8 does not come with any speakers. You'll have to connect speakers using the headphone jack or using Bluetooth. Okay, let's move on to the system specs. The IT8 that I have here has an 8th gen Intel i5 Coffee Lake processor, which has 4 cores, 8 threads, and supports dual channel multitasking. Its base clock speed is 2 GHz, but can go up to 3.8 on turbo. It has 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM at 240 MHz and a 512 gigabyte SSD. Both the RAM and SSD are from Kingston, so you know you're getting some quality components and not some random no-name brands. Now the 8th gen Core i5 is a bit of an older CPU, but it still provides more than enough processing power for general users. Speaking of users, this kind of mini PC is made for the everyday users. Students, office workers, and people who need a general purpose computer for home use. For these types of uses, the 8th gen i5 is more than enough to handle day-to-day browsing, Microsoft Office, and even watching 4K videos. In terms of connectivity, you do have an Ethernet jack on the back of the case, but the IT8 also comes with Wi-Fi, which supports 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. You also have Bluetooth 4.2, which you can use to connect things such as your keyboard, mice, and headphones. So what happens when we open the Geekom IT8 up? Opening it up is simple. All you have to do is remove the 4 screws along the bottom of the case here, and you're able to lift the top off. Once we open it up, there are some surprises here. The 16 gigabytes of RAM is actually just 1 stick of RAM, so if you wanted to add more RAM, you have an additional slot to do this. Speaking of expandable, you also have space on the bottom of the case here to pop in a SATA SSD. So now, on top of the SD card slot, you also have an additional hard drive. Overall, I'm impressed with the options that you have here to expand and to upgrade. This really helps with the future-proofing and longevity of this PC. Talking about the day-to-day use and productivity here, during my time testing out the Geekom IT8, I ran it through my daily routines. I didn't run it through any benchmarks because at the end of the day, what really matters to me is how this machine performs during real-world usage. In my day-to-day, I'm either browsing the web, watching movies, editing video clips, working on spreadsheets, or doing some casual gaming. For all my testing with the Geekom IT8, I actually use an ultra-wide monitor which has a resolution of 3440 by 1440. When it comes to web browsing, I keep multiple tabs open all the time. Yes, I'm one of those people. I'm happy to say that in my time testing the IT8, I never ran into any issues with the PC slowing down due to too many tabs open. I was even able to watch 4K videos on YouTube without any issues. For video editing, I used a 5-minute 4K video clip and it took about 18 minutes and 30 seconds to render. This is definitely not the fastest, but it'll do in the pinch. Hardcore video editors are definitely not the target audience of this PC. Like I said, this PC is meant for your average day-to-day users. For office types of activities like running general spreadsheets and using PowerPoint, the IT8 ran very well. I didn't notice any issues with slowdowns or any hiccups in my work. Overall, the Geekom IT8 performed very well in my day-to-day activities. This little thing is actually really impressive. Like I mentioned earlier, I do some casual gaming on a daily basis. So how does the Geekom IT8 do when it comes to gaming? One thing to keep in mind here is that this PC is not designed for gamers. That being said, the GPU is an Intel Iris Graphics Plus 655, and it's integrated as part of the CPU chip. While this PC isn't meant for gamers, the integrated graphics is powerful enough to play some older games like Titanfall 2 and Left 4 Dead 2 on low graphics settings. Keep in mind here that most of my testing was done on an ultra-wide monitor with a 3440 by 1440p resolution. This is already considered fairly high for most games. The Intel Iris graphics fare better when it comes to mobile games like those found on the Microsoft Store. I played GT Racing 2 and it ran very smoothly. Unfortunately, none of the USB-C ports on this PC have a Thunderbolt connection, which means that you can't connect any external GPUs to the IT8. This is a little bit of a bummer. Being able to connect an external GPU would allow you to have better performance in gaming and video editing. Perhaps Geekom will actually add a Thunderbolt port in their next model. One thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is that the IT8 does have a built-in fan to keep things cool. During heavier loads like playing games and video editing, the fan will actually ramp up. While it is noticeable, it's actually not very loud or distracting. If you had this PC behind your monitor or TV, you'd likely not hear anything at all. Alright, time for my final thoughts here. Overall, this is a great little PC. It's small, it's portable, and you get a lot of computing power for only $450. What I really like is Geekom's thoughtful inclusion of expandable RAM and storage. Like I said earlier, this really helps extend the lifespan and the longevity of these computers. If you don't need a Thunderbolt port for an external GPU and are just looking for a PC to handle your day-to-day browsing, productivity needs, and casual gaming, I'd actually really recommend checking out the Geekom IT8. Well, that's all for today, everyone. If you liked what you saw in this video, drop a like, and if you'd like to see more from me, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to know what else I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at pewx31 or on Facebook and YouTube here at pewx3. Until next time, everyone, take care.